This clip is brought to you by SaveWithConrad.com. At the same time this angle is going on, Bret is working with Jerry a lot down in the USWA. Was he happy to do these deals? Is this part of his WWF contract? Is he paid separately for that? What can you tell us about this interesting little talent trade that you guys were doing with USWA?
I don't know that Bret was necessarily happy about going down and working in Memphis, but it was something to help Jerry out in Tennessee. Yes.
We should mention. So another memorable Raw moment is Bret versus Bam Bam, where Lawler is in the balcony cutting one-liners on Stu and Helen Hart while they're in the crowd. We've always heard that Bret had no issues with Jerry doing this, but did you ever hear anything to the contrary?
No. And for the most part, Jerry ran all of that by Bret and Stu and Helen, because again, the respect for Stu Hart and the respect for Bret, and just Helen Hart being one of the classiest women you'd ever want to meet in your life. The epitome of just like, I can't even think of anybody ever, even of the kids or anybody ever talking about Helen getting upset and raising her voice or anything like that. She was the epitome of class. So yeah, it was funny to do that to the matriarch of that family.
You gotta get excited about saving people all those dollars. They can limousine ride and jet fly now with that extra cash.
And they can style and profile with a quick 10-minute phone call right now to 425-0105.
That's 425-0105. Woo!
SaveWithConrad.com. Bret and Yoko in a cage on the house shows is going to draw 15,000 people for $155,000 at the Arrowhead Pond. There's got to be something to this Bret Yoko thing, but we'll move on. SummerSlam, Jerry Lawler is going to claim an injury and Doink the Clown is going to take his spot. Here it is from the Observer. Lawler comes out on crutches to do the old broken leg trick. He brought Doink out as his replacement. Doink threw a bucket of confetti on the ringside crowd and then threw a bucket of water on Bruce Hart, who was at ringside with Owen Hart. It's said that Bruce Hart didn't know the bucket of water was coming. Please tell me that's real.
That's real.
I love you guys. And it feels like Owen would have known and just not told him, right?
Probably.
Maybe his idea. Yeah. They have a decent match.
It actually might have been Bret and Owen's
idea.
Yeah.
So they have a decent match. And Meltzer says, but that was all. It ended in 9 minutes and 5 seconds when Bret got Doink in the sharpshooter and then Lawler broke a crutch over his head for the DQ. Star and a half. Whose idea was it, this pivot to Doink in there before Jerry?
It was a way to get heat, and it was a way for to kind of get a double match out of the thing, and for Lawler to get heat. Just that much more heat. It was a dickish thing to do, and then it was just we got the match later on. But yeah, it was definitely a fun spot.
Listen, I'm a big Southern wrestling fan, obviously growing up here in Alabama, but I understand there is an anti-Southern wrestling bias. Do you think Vince or anybody else had any concerns about Jerry Lawler's in-ring style, that perhaps it was quote unquote too Southern?
I think there was a concern, but you know what? Jerry's mouth, I think, could always outweigh those concerns, because as soon as you put a microphone in Jerry's hands, Jerry was able to get any heat and regain any credibility that he may lose. And Jerry knew how to adapt his style as well. Lawler was, yes, he was a Southern Tennessee guy that worked that Southern Tennessee style. However, when you got Jerry out, man, Jerry went to Florida for Eddie Graham and worked that territory and did big business. Jerry came to Texas with us and with Blanchard and did big money and was able to adapt his style to wherever he was. So I never really looked at Jerry as, oh, hey, he's this Southern wrestler. I don't think Jackie Fargo would have gotten over anywhere else, other than Tennessee. I don't think that Jackie, because of his style, was something that he could have adapted. Jerry adapted. Some guys could, some guys couldn't.
Of course, at this point, Jack Tunney is going to order Jerry Lawler to wrestle Bret Hart because of doing the whole fake broken leg trick, or be suspended for life. And of course, Hart starts the match, hitting Lawler with a bucket, pounding on him with a crutch. Lawler makes the comeback with shots from the second crutch. He's going to ram Bret's crotch into the post and start choking him with a crutch. Security's going to hold back Owen and Bruce. Eventually, Bret comes back with a low blow, pulls down his strap, which was lost on the entire crowd, and then used a pile driver, came off the top rope with a punch, and put on the sharpshooter for the submission in 6 minutes and 32 seconds. And Meltzer would write, Hart kept the hold on for several minutes while several referees and road agents and family members stood around. It was finally announced the decision was reversed, and that by virtue of the win, Lawler had become king of the WWF. So I guess king is a new title, but it's under Mexican rules since it could change hands by DQ. Lawler ends up being carried out on a stretcher, and while on the stretcher, Bruce attacks Lawler. And as a match, it's maybe 3 stars, but the whole scenario from start to finish was worth 4 stars. Meltzer loved it. Loved the idea of showing the harder edge of Bruce, not Bruce, but of Bret. Good stuff, man. I mean, any sort of doubts you had about this decision creatively had to be quelled when you actually see him pull it off, right?
Yeah, dude, I knew they would, because Lawler's that much of a pro and Bret's just that damn good. But what is lost on a lot of people is Lawler did one thing at the very end of the night that to me was the greatest heel move and just so simple. After all the bullshit, Lawler still had his crown and shit, and they're wheeling Jerry out on the stretcher after he's been beaten to death by Bret Hart. He's been beaten by Bret's brother Bruce, and just, all this crap, and they're wheeling Jerry out. And right before Jerry goes through the curtain, he barely holds his arm up and his one finger saying, I'm number one, I'm the winner. Jerry couldn't move, was so beat up, he's being wheeled out on a stretcher, was able to barely get that arm up and then put that one finger up like, yeah, I'm the winner, I'm your king, and I may be on a stretcher, but I beat your guy.
You love that shit.
And to me, that's just genius. Loved it. Absolutely fucking, but that's the tale of a true pro, of a guy that gets it, of a real heel.
Right. That
even when you have kicked my ass and left nothing else, I won. It gets that last little right up the ass. It's beautiful. Pure beauty, Conrad.
Outstanding. And I've got to think that Vince McMahon fell in love with Jerry Lawler when he saw that one finger pop up, right?
Absolutely, because it just showed how good he was, that never stopped working, never forgot that was the heat.
By the way, it's also notable that this is the same show where Lex does not defeat Yoko for the title. So it's just a fascinating story to see how, Hogan's out at King of the Ring. Well, did you hear that Bret won and had 3 badass matches? Oh man, Lex didn't really win the title. Yeah, but did you hear he had 2 really good matches, including an incredible scene with Jerry Lawler? He's in the backdrop, man, doing his thing. Bret wrote in his book that he had some receipts for Lawler in this match. Did you notice or feel anything for the heat between the two at all?
I didn't know the two ever had heat.
He wrote in his book that around this time his contract was coming due and he wasn't completely happy about his creative. Owen's current placement, him not getting the win over Hogan, et cetera, et cetera. And he's even been thinking about taking a year off. Do you remember him discussing that with you or Vince, that maybe he wants to take the year off?
Yeah, I know he wanted to go do some acting. I think this was about the time that he wanted to go and do Sinbad, and he wanted to go and do Lonesome Dove. But he had some opportunities in the acting world. I think Bret kind of was feeling beat up and maybe not loved as much as he would like to have been loved.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.